All right, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the July 11th meeting of the City of Davenport. This is loud. Zoning Board of Adjustment. The Zoning Board of Adjustment holds public hearings to consider the strict application of zoning ordinance for hardship variances, special uses, and appeals. I'm Dan Darlin, Chairman of the Davenport Zoning Board of Adjustment. Members present today are from your left to right, Mike Galliart, Bridget Boyd Carlson, myself, and Jeff Blumker. Staff present today are Scott Copes and Matt Warderich. If you have a mobile device, we ask that you turn it off so it doesn't interfere with the room's electronics. As we conduct our business, we expect everyone here will conduct themselves in a respectful, courteous, and civil manner, and will speak only after being recognized by the chair. The only exception to this standard is that the staff is expected to interject when necessary to ensure we are properly conducting our business. If anyone wishes to speak on a particular agenda item, you'll be provided an opportunity to do so. When recognized by me, please step to the podium, introduce yourself, and provide your input. By practice, each person is only permitted one opportunity to speak. Exceptions to that practice is at my discretion. And of course, if a board member asks a question of anyone, they'll be permitted to speak to answer that question. But I'll ask that you keep your response limited to the specific question. When you do speak, we ask that you stay at the podium because the microphone's directly above. So if you wander about, go to point at something on the screen, then we lose audio. I think I know what a minister feels like because everyone's sitting in the back rows. Okay, so we can get started. Are there any corrections to the minutes from our last meeting, June 27th? I have none. Hearing none, may I have a motion for approval?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? None. Minutes are approved. New business. First up, we have two today. First up is hardship variance 24-09 of Bray Architects on behalf of the City of Davenport Community Schools at 1414 East Locust Street for hardship variance to locate a refuse enclosure in a front yard and to construct a chain link fence near the property line in the front yard. Davenport Municipal Code requires refuse enclosures to be located in the side or rear yards and prohibits a chain link fence in the front yard and corner side yards, and this is in Ward 5. Is the applicant here, the representation for the applicant? Okay, great. May I have the staff report, please?
Scott Copes, Neighborhood Services. This first slide just kind of goes through the description request you read about the enclosure and the chain link fence. And these are our code requirements. For most of those, we're familiar with the demolition that's happened. Washington was the previous school in the east there. Staff put together this simple site plan. It's a little less busy than the one submitted. At the bottom, you can see where it says existing chain link in blue. That's where they would like to keep chain link remaining. And the red is where they would like to add chain link. And in the purple there next to the building, that's where their proposed dumpster would be going. And that will be enclosed with a regulation fence or wall. This shows the existing chain link, which is visible from Locust Street. And this is another shot of the same fence, a little bit different perspective. This is the front of the school from Locust also. In this shot, there is no chain link in this area. And then this is the west portion of the school, existing school with no chain link. We have notified property owners, 67 notices have been sent. We received one phone call today, and their comment was that it's early in the morning, the dumpster is sometimes picked up. And so I'm going to be proposing an additional condition in addition to the one that we already have for the refuge, and that would be that trash pickup would begin no earlier than 7 a.m. and end as appropriate per city code. So here's our findings regarding the refuge enclosure. It does meet our 4 criteria, and staff recommends approval of proposed refuge enclosure hardship variance, subject to the addition of 2 conditions. One, that evergreen landscaping bushes be placed on 3 sides of the enclosure. And the second condition would be that trash pickup is no earlier than 7 a.m. And I think it would be advisable to probably take these separately. I can go to the next one if you would like, or we can vote on it now. But because they're 2 separate issues, I would like the board to have a chance to approve each one rather than summarily rejecting.
Yeah, let's do one at a time. And then we'll also have to have a motion to include the additional recommendation, right? Of the pickup time, yeah. So the bottom of this slide is Locust Street, north is to the top.
Correct, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
You mentioned about city code. Is city code for dumpster pickup 7 a.m.? Or there is no city code for that?
Right now, for schools that are within 500 feet of residential, which this is, they're allowed to pick up at 6 a.m.
Okay.
If, correct me if I'm wrong, isn't there also an ordinance that's under the noise ordinance that prior to 7, anyhow on weekdays, within so many feet of residential property, that there can't be noise that,
Yeah, I don't know which code trumps which, since these aren't my specialty, so.
okay. But there's one that specifically addresses schools.
Right, there's one that specifically addresses dumpster pickup, and they have a section about schools, yes.
Okay,
Typically, the most restrictive applies, so if the noise ordinance decibels is more restrictive, that would apply.
yeah, and they don't give a decibel, it's like if it interferes with quality of life or whatever, you know, between,
Right.
before 7 and after 10 on weekdays, and, okay. I do, when I used to live by West High School and ran into that problem occasionally, usually it was just a phone call to the dumpster company, it was like, oh, new driver, sorry, we'll take care of it, and they won't do it again, and then it cools, so. Been there, done that. Okay. So we want to start with the fence issue? Or is dumpster first? Okay. So for the board members, any questions of staff? I think we've already asked. Okay.
Where is the dumpster in reference to where the buses would be dropping off kiddos?
Is your mic on, Scott? Is your mic on?
The new school layout will have pickup on Pleasant, and then there'll be parking for student drop-off, and then there will be the dumpster. I think I might have,
Get all that.
no, I don't have it. The plan given to the school, it's in your packet that went out, is very heavy. They have the old parking lot with the new parking lot overlaid, and they have the new building with the old parking lot overlaid, and so it's very busy. So we don't have a good diagram for you.
I was just wondering if changing it to a later time at 7 o'clock, does that affect people being in the streets dropping kids off, or buses, or?
Yeah, I guess the school district would have to address how many early morning activities they have
Okay.
that would affect.
Okay, any other questions? All right, then, if I can have the applicant step forward. Then you please introduce yourself and give us your petition.
Carrie Eulenkamp with Bright Architects, and So the first one would be the dumpster enclosure, and that's the only one I should talk about right now, Scott.
Yes, thank you.
So the existing dumpster already is very much adjacent to this area. We are moving it a bit closer to the proposed addition so that night staff is not having to walk as far from a safety standpoint. And also, we would like to upgrade the look and the appearance of it. So overall, it's an improvement from what is there. And the adjacency should also give the staff and all of the users a better usability because of that. The variance is because this is a unique site where there is no backyard, there's no side yard, it's all front yard. And so we have to put a dumpster on the site somewhere, so we would be here no matter what when we move it.
Okay. Questions?
Yes, could you describe what the fence enclosure would look like?
So we are proposing like a Trex material.
Okay.
So it will look like a wood material.
Okay.
And it is going to be fully enclosed with gates. We are going to put a small man door type of application on the side so that the staff doesn't have to open the big gates every
Right.
time and they can get in and out easier.
And it'll just be room for one dumpster?
3.
3? Okay.
Yeah, ordinance requires it to be a solid material, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was not asked about the 7 a.m., so I don't know if I can comment on that.
Yeah, you can. It came up just today, so.
I will say, while school does not start until later in the day, this site is very busy from probably about 7 a.m. until about 10 a.m. There's constant traffic, there's constant going. School doesn't officially start until closer to 8:30 to 9, but I could see why someone picking up dumpsters would want to be coming earlier. So while it is an inconvenience, I would think that they hit those spots early to get out of the way because if you've ever been here in the morning or at pickup, it is a lot of traffic.
Sure. I think we're, with the, of course, we haven't seen what it's like without the elementary school, right? Because it's gone. So traffic's going to be, a lot of the student population is not on these 2 or 3 blocks anymore, right? Because the whole K through 6 is gone. So it should help some.
The elementary has been gone for the past year, and I
Right.
would say going to the site regularly, it's still very busy.
Okay.
And what street did you say the drop-off is on?
Unpleasant,
So it's on the left.
Okay, I can't read it, it's too small.
Yeah.
north.
Eastern's on the right.
So that's where their existing
Okay.
parking lot is on the north.
Pleasant's on the
and there'll
north.
Be a pull-out for the buses, but then all of the parents will be pulling through the existing lot where the dumpster would have to be met.
Oh,
Any other questions?
Could you predict how often pickup would be for the dumpsters?
I don't know, I've got to ask the district how often
Yeah.
they're getting to pick up.
Okay.
is it through the city or is it like Republic or somebody like that? Do you know that?
It wouldn't be through the city, I don't think.
Yeah, it's not with the city, it's
Contracted.
contract.
Contracting?
Yeah.
And is that the recycle bins also inside there, or is it all?
I assume they put everything in there.
Okay, that's why there's 3 of them.
And it's a fairly large building, so it should
Mhm.
be able to hold 900 students. So we're building it for adequate space.
Mhm.
Scott, did you also mention landscaping around it?
Yes, right now, the code does not require specifically to have landscaping. We think it would be nice just to have a few small bushes on each side. Obviously not the front, but,
And the current plan has it.
okay.
I have no comment on that.
Okay. All right. No other questions? All right, well then, we'll let you sit down while we debate this one, and then we'll have you back up in a minute. So this is our discussion time. Thoughts?
Even though it's a very busy location, I mean, it's a big site, and there is a lot of open space there, and I just don't see how this would cause any stress.
All right. Is that in regards to having the caveat of a 7 a.m. pickup, or are we concerned about that?
You know, I can't imagine that the refuse company would have a problem with that. You know, they might roll their eyes a little bit when they first hear it, but I'm sure they can figure out how to accommodate that.
Any other comments, Mike, Bridget?
I have to agree with
Yeah.
what Jeff stated.
Yep, I'm good
I
with
have
it.
no further comments.
I'm just concerned that if,
Your mic's on.
I'm just concerned that if it's, if this school can hold 900 students, I remember taking my daughter to school when every single car that drives up is dropping off one student. So you could literally have 900 cars there every morning.
Sure, the bus company would be unhappy with that.
I'm just concerned that if you wait to have your dumpster picked up, you know.
Well, I mean, the other thought is that if there is an ordinance that already addresses dumpster pickup at schools, just to allow that ordinance to, I mean, between that ordinance and the noise ordinance, you know, one of those is going to rule. I don't know that we have to add that caveat in our ruling.
And I'd be okay with that if that's the sense of the
Yeah.
board.
Scott, did you say there was only one person that mentioned something to do with the dumpster?
The person
Noise.
that called me today said she was representing other people, but I don't know if they all had the same sentiment regarding trash.
So, you know, something I did kind of jump the gun on our discussion because I didn't ask if anyone, because we split the two of them up, if anyone here in the audience wanted to speak in favor of this proposal. Or if anyone in the audience wishes to speak opposed to this dumpster plan. Okay, seeing none. So now it's back on us. So we have the recommendation to have the additional recommendations to have the landscaping around the enclosure.
Could you go back that slide, Scott?
So this is how it was originally written in the staff report without the hours.
Yeah. I personally am good with that, and we'll allow the noise ordinance and the school dumpster ordinance to,
Address that.
yeah, allow them to fight that out later if it becomes an issue. All right, so then I'll take a motion.
Sure, I can make a motion to accept the enclosure that
Yep.
24-09 regarding the refuse enclosure with the recommendation that's stated on the report.
Second.
Okay, so to be clear, so we're recommending to approve the enclosure along with the staff recommendation of landscaping on 3 sides of the enclosure.
Correct.
Okay. Roll call, please.
Blumker,
Yes.
Galliard,
Yes.
Wood Carlson,
Yes.
and Darland.
Yes. All right, so we can move to the staff report regarding the fence.
Okay. So the analysis for the fence is that the ordinance has not created a hardship. A fence style is something that's easily changed. The fence might likely have to be removed during construction so that it doesn't get damaged. The physical surroundings don't impose a hardship that requires that chain link to be maintained. There is no unique circumstance that has been established, and the protection of essential character may have been established. Chain links are common under our old code prior to 2019. So of the 4 requirements, they have not met 3. And so staff's recommendation is not to approve.
Okay. Board questions of staff?
I guess to be clear, there's no chain link fencing allowed at all with the new code, period.
Not in the front.
Because of this site having 4 streets on 4 sides, there's no place they can really put a chain link fence.
But they can put some other type of a fence.
They could put a decorative metal fence that's 70% open. Yeah,
And not to exceed a certain height, right?
right, up to 6 foot tall. So really just the material would be changing. Instead of a wire chain link, you would be more of a decorative metal or vinyl. It wouldn't be allowed to be, metal wire.
Scott, do you know the rationale behind that?
When the new code came about, they wanted to increase the quality of fencing in town, and some of the problems with chain link is they rust out. Sometimes they don't have any support posts on them. They just have the one post. They have no crossbars anywhere. So some of those issues were a problem. And also a lot of times people put the slats in them and they blow out and they cause a trash issue. So those are kind of the general thoughts at the time we wrote the code.
Was that disallowed just on the front? And of course, this case, all 4 sides are fronts? Or are they not, the city ordinance not allow it anywhere?
Right now, let's say if you had a typical residential house and it's not a corner lot,
Right.
you could have a chain link even with the front of your house, but it couldn't be anywhere between the front wall of the building and the street. And so because they've got 4 sides,
Right.
they don't have an area like that.
Right, so it could come up to the front of the house, the corners of the house, but not past it.
Right.
Yeah, gotcha. Okay. Any other questions?
So if the petitioner would propose a different style, you'd approve that style of fence, correct?
Right, there's other styles that
Yeah.
would not need a variance.
Right. Yeah, one come here. Okay. Other questions?
Good.
All right, so, petitioner, you can come back up and again, introduce yourself and present the petition.
Carrie Yellington with Bright Architects. So having worked at this site for almost 9 years now, I actually didn't know that there was a chain link fence on it because when you're going down Locust, it becomes fairly invisible in its essence. I actually didn't know until I started to walk the site recently. And so their reasoning for wanting a fence to surround the entire site, when it goes along parts of Locust, it goes up Eastern, and it goes around part of Pleasant. So they would just be connecting certain areas and/or replacing old galvanized chain link fence. The reason that they want to put it on these 3 sides is really to keep the public from wandering in during school hours. They don't want it to be a visual impediment. They don't want it to be a deterrent from, using the basketball courts or anything like that. So they're not wanting to fence in those areas, but they want to at least give a visual barrier that says, hey, school, this is a school property. We don't want you to wander up to the building during school hours. That's their intention. The reason that we got to the perimeter of the site was to really keep the fencing away from the building, because some of the other proposals originally that we talked about were starting to fence in the courtyards, starting to fence in the basketball courts that are going to be there and the track. And those start to create a lot bigger barriers for the community. So that was the first reason why we went to the perimeter. Unfortunately, because of the site, it is a front yard on all sides. They do have existing chain link coated PVC fencing in blue. And that's the type that they would like to continue to use, which doesn't quite have the visual impediment that a actually nicer fence does have. They do have a nicer fence around their existing courtyard on the north. And it does look very nice because that's more of their front yard, but it creates a lot bigger barrier. It definitely says, oh, should you be here? And that was their intention on that side because they don't want people wandering in during school hours, definitely on that front. So as far as other options, they can go to a nicer fence. I understand that the budget is not a pediment, right? It can't be a reason, but that would be one of the reasons that they are going to this is that while spending and investing this much into this site, they are currently maxed out, and so they would like to take as many options as possible to reduce their scope and to try to still create security, create a great site for the building and for the community, but not go over budget and be fiscally responsible.
Okay.
A couple more items. So
Sure, go
in
ahead.
talking recently, just the last couple of days, knowing that this might not be recommended, because on Eastern specifically, it will be right up against that track. And unfortunately, some of the fences that would be proposed, we would have to go to a much more durable fence because junior high kids are rough. We love them dearly. It's an age of coming, but while being on that track, running around, goofing off, they're going to destroy that fence very quickly. A chain link fence actually would be more durable in that scenario and have a better barrier because it doesn't have things to stick your arm through, things to stick your legs through. And so we feel it actually would be a better barrier around those areas, especially because that track is going to be fairly close to Eastern. And we would like to have the chain link as opposed to a more decorative fence in that area.
All right, so there would be no openings anywhere in that perimeter fence?
No, I mean, by code, it's required to have, in the chain link, it
Right,
would just be regular chain link, but it's a coated PVC,
right.
so it's.
But I mean, are there gates?
There would be gates, there's one at the crosswalk.
On Locust
I think there might
Street,
be a couple more that would be proposed, but primarily on Esplanade and Eastern, there would not be because of the grade. It kind of goes around the Locust too, the grade is pretty rough there, so you wouldn't want one, but we would be providing ones down where you would be coming out of the site, possibly going to the sidewalk. And the one shown is the area right where, that's where the crosswalk is.
So petitioner, should this variance not be granted, what would be your recommendation to the school district?
We've talked about that the last couple of days. Our first recommendation would be to not put a fence in then. To possibly even leave the galvanized fence that's there along Eastern and Pleasant, that exists. And then we're not sure what they would do with the blue since it would be a disjointed fence at this point. But we would recommend probably that they either try to do it later when they have more money but not to do it at this point.
To your knowledge, are there any other variations of chain link fence other than what we all kind of know as, the standard type of chain link fence? In other words, anything that's coated that would have a better aesthetic than the old style chain link fence?
Scott, can you go to one of the pictures that
Yeah.
shows the fence?
So that one's a PVC coated.
Okay.
And so it's more durable. Up on the other portion of the lot is a regular galvanized fence, and it does not look as appealing in my personal aesthetic.
Right.
So we would be matching in with that PVC coated.
And the height that you'll do,
6 foot.
6 foot? And your proposed, I don't know if it's in the proposal, that it would have the top bar, the crossbar on the post, like seen here?
Yes. It wouldn't withstand middle schoolers if
Without
it
it
didn't.
on here.
So the proposal would be, that appears to be black, correct? So it'd be black all the way around, okay?
It's funny because black actually, when you look, if you drive around the site, this black fence fades away better than the
Yeah.
galvanized.
Right.
You don't
I
notice
agree.
it as much. And so we want it to be a visual barrier if you are wanting to come on the site, but not a visual barrier to, driving past it, anything like that.
All right, any other questions for the applicant?
I have a quick question. So you're saying the fence is for security of the building. So are there fences at all of the schools in Davenport School District?
There are not, no, and that's also another discussion that we've had. You need to think of these, like Smart and Sudlow, as starting to be a precedent for what they would like to do in the future. They're having a lot of deep conversations about how to approach security in the future. And so while there are not fences at all around, because, slowly they would have to implement that, when we were talking about these new schools, and just the site criteria of the different ones, maybe scenarios where they've had a lot of people coming up to the buildings during school hours, it became present that they would like to start to do this. And so this would be kind of that domino where they might start to do this at more sites. Obviously, the weighing here might influence that also. If you can't put in a more economical fence in that application.
I assume the schools are all locked down during school hours, and there's only one entrance anyway. So if somebody would walk up to the building, they can't just walk in.
They
Correct.
can't, but you're correct. So during the school hours, it would be locked down. But with school security, it starts a state of frenzy if you start to see people milling around outside. If you start to see people walking up to the windows, that puts you into a lockdown. They're not in lockdown every day. That would put you into a lockdown. The building is locked, but lockdown's a whole different thing.
This is kind of a loaded question, but the other schools, the Davenport Community Schools, do they have, like, I'm picturing most of them have a quote front yard all the way around where it's on a corner of a block
Probably quite a few.
where there would have to be some kind of, you'd have to approach the board again for another chain link fence for each school.
Potentially.
Yeah, okay.
And especially, this is obviously a learning curve for them. We kind of originally thought if we pushed it into the setback, we would still be able to do the chain link fence. And so it's been educational working with Scott through that process. And so, yeah, I think this will be a precedent for them to figure out, well, what do we do in that situation? And how do we improve our security, yet be good community members?
Commissioner, are you aware of the life expectancy of this type of PVC coated chain link fence?
I am not off the top of my head.
Or have any idea what happens when it starts to degrade?
I want to say that this one is currently about 7 to 8 years old. And it still looks fairly nice. So I don't think it's a short-term thing. I would say the galvanized one on the opposite corner, that's probably a really old fence. And it shows. It's still standing, but it's showing its appearance.
I think as you mentioned, this is more of a visual deterrent. It's hey, you probably shouldn't go past here. It's really not physical security, where you have openings and it doesn't go all the way around and et cetera.
Yeah, I mean, as we know, if someone wants to get over the fence, they're going to come over the fence. So it's not stopping people from that level of security. But in general, there is just, people forget that maybe school's in session and they start to wander into the yard. They start to wander up to the school. It's not usually an actual threat, but for the people inside, they don't know. And so just that barrier helps increase that variable, that then they don't have to deal with that on a daily basis.
Okay. Any other questions?
Staff does have one comment. Earlier, you asked about how we arrived about not allowing chain links in front yards. And At that time, we also discussed requiring chain link to be black powder coated. Obviously, that didn't happen, but that was one of the things that we did like about chain links, is if you made it a black powder coated, it looks a lot nicer than the standard galvanized fence, and it also lasts longer as well.
Is that what that is? Is that considered?
But I call it black powder coated, but it might be more technically PVC, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Any other questions? All right, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that wishes to speak in favor of this petition? Anyone that wishes to speak opposed? Okay. So board discussion time. Thoughts?
I just don't think, I don't think that, if the driver here is aesthetics, I don't think that particular, the powder coated or PVC coated fence in black looks that bad. And I can certainly understand where the petitioner's coming from in terms of potential abuse from school-age children.
Oh, absolutely. Mike, Bridget?
I guess, maybe I have a question for Scott. Apologize.
Sorry.
So the setback requirement was mentioned. So there can be chain link fence, it just can't exceed setback.
Yeah, so if you look on this plan here,
Yeah,
I guess technically you could have a chain link right through here and right through here, but it wouldn't really serve any purpose. But that's the only place you could do chain link on this lot with what's proposed.
okay.
All right.
I have a question. Is there a way to put some sort of stipulation that they must go with the powder coated or whatever, PVC coated, and it has to be replaced every 10 years or something like that, so that it always stays looking nice and doesn't look like the one, I forgot which street it was on that you were talking about, the galvanized one,
Yeah, hardship variances can be conditioned.
conditioned like that, okay.
I say they have to be maintained. So if we said it had to be maintained, then it would,
Maintenance is sometimes a sticky wicket, but you have the right to do that as well.
right?
Okay.
But that would trigger really, I mean, no one's probably gonna go around and inspect it, so it has to be triggered by complaints.
Right,
or-
if someone would complain and it wouldn't be, somehow we'd have to deem it not meeting standards and then take it back to the board.
We could put a caveat that's a condition that it could not be slatted, though.
That would probably be beneficial, yeah.
Yeah. Find the boss. All right, yeah, so that would, if we wanted to proceed with this, I would say we'd have to have a condition that it could not be slatted.
Permanently.
Yeah, no slats, no red solo cups.
Well, that's what I was gonna say, because sometimes for a event or whatever, the school might do it themselves, their kids might do it themselves,
Yeah,
but it wouldn't be a permanent situation.
yeah, you can't keep someone from doing it, it just has to be removed. All right, any discussion, what are your thoughts?
No more comments?
All right, so at this point, to get to where we would make a motion for approval, if anyone, well, we need a motion for approval, but I would have it with the condition that it has to be maintained in good condition, and that it could not have slats put in it.
Should it also be mentioned that it has to be a black coated?
Yeah, I think that's what's proposed, is it not? Or, yeah, it's proposed as such, so we'd be accepting that proposal and what the top railing is proposed, right? So that's the proposal.
Well, I'd like to go ahead and make that motion. I'd like to make the motion that HB 24-09. Request HB 24-09 be approved with the condition that the fencing used is of a coated, powder coated or PVC coated black in color. What else did you need, Dan?
Well, yeah, I think that's already, I mean, that's what the proposal is, but yeah, so it's PVC, but if you want to state it,
What was the other
PVC, the top rail, but the two real conditions are that it's maintained in a good condition and that slats are not inserted in the
There you go.
fence.
Got it?
I'll second.
Roll call vote, please.
Galliard,
Yes.
White Carlton, sorry,
Yes.
Blumker,
Yes.
and Darling.
Yes. All right, so that has passed. All right, thank you. All right, takes us on to agenda item 2 under new business, and that's a special use permit request 24-04 of 53rd Luxury LLC at 2021 and also 1911 and 2131 East 53rd Street to modify special use for a vehicle dealership with outdoor storage and display. Table 17.08-1 requires a special use for a vehicle dealership with outdoor storage or display on property zone C3 General Commercial District. And 17.14.050 requires a modification to a special use when required by code, and this is in Ward 8. Is the applicant here? Okay, thank you. May I have a staff report, please?
Scott Copes, Neighborhood Services. So as you're aware, we approved this in December of 2003. There was a special use approving the old site plan, which I'll show in a minute. This was also after the property was rezoned appropriately for the right use. And so we're here today because there's some enlargements to the structures that are there, and they are also placing a building on a parcel that wasn't containing a parcel earlier, or a building earlier with the last approval. So the yellow outline and the little appendage to it is where the new proposed dealership's going to be going. And this is where the original plan was, so it didn't have this little section kind of south of the building there. And so here is the proposal. And you can see this, if you saw that little yellow circle there, that shows you where the building, the admin building has been moved. That building also no longer has a body shop. And this is where the other 3 buildings are. They're spaced out a little bit more, and there's now a building kind of directly in front of that Spring Street exit there. The other change they have is to accommodate a requirement from last time was that the dealership had car carriers deliver the vehicles directly to the lot and not onto the street, which was happening frequently. To do that, they're going to close this driveway that exists right now west of the building, and they're going to put it right where this long driveway is over here. There's going to be a new driveway. We did the notice to 67 properties, coincidentally the same as the last notice. I double-checked. And so our findings are that the location meets the requirements, and it's compatible, and it's in accordance with special use approval. And our conditions are very similar. I can read those for you. The extensive Exhibit A site plan has been submitted and emailed to planning staff July 3, 2027, shall be binding, and it shall be restricted to the same modifications standards as the code requires. Prior to occupancy, a full site plan shall be reviewed and approved through Davenport E-Plan, standard policy. The use of flags, pennants, tinsels, balloons, and other similar attention-getting devices shall be prohibited. That's the same as last time. Number 4, conditions of the rezoning still apply, and they're going to be met. The car wash will be 125 feet from the property line, so it still meets that condition. And number 5, should complaints arise, it will come back here to the board. And number 6, should the ownership no longer be affiliated with a franchise auto dealership, the special use shall be reviewed regarding this change by the zoning board of adjustment. So 5 and 6 were changed last time, and they're the same language now.
Okay. The building in the back, that's part of the change that's being added?
Right, so that's one of the things that triggered it, is because previously it was contained just to that, if you can see that grayish background. Everything was in that grayish background area, and now they slipped it over further here. And then 2 of the buildings are larger as well.
Right. And the use of that building is,
Yeah, it's gone from just admin it's gone from admin and body shop to now it's just admin.
okay.
Oh, there is I apologize, the admin building used to have a car wash, it still does have a car wash.
So it's a car wash, but there's no,
Yeah,
No body
there's no
shop.
body shop, yep.
Scott, could you go back to the previous, what was approved previously?
Yep, so this is the previous approval. The rear building in purple is where the body shop would have been. This little bump out is the car wash, and the other new plan has that same little bump out for the car wash.
okay. So that gets a building, looks like it's narrower besides being pushed to the west, but gets it out of the way for the road to come through for the car deliveries.
Correctly. Yep.
Yeah,
And the applicant can cover that in more detail.
sure. Any other questions for staff? Staff, good? Okay. Applicants, please introduce yourself and present your petition.
My name is John Hoffmeyer with Aronson Law Group again, representing 53rd Luxury. I'll keep this really short because we went through this whole plan in detail before. The thing that I would point out is two of the buildings are becoming a little bit bigger. One is about 8,000 square feet bigger, the other one's 6,000. The third building on the left there has actually been reduced by 15,000 square feet. The back building has been reduced by almost 20,000 square feet by removing both the body shop and the second story of that building, which was a bit of a ado last time, as everybody knows. So we've dropped the second story out of that building and we've removed the body shop from the site. So that should make that building a much quieter operation. We're keeping the car wash, as he noted, to the north where it's required by the zoning. And this tries to accommodate and address the concerns that we heard last time from the city, both in the zoning and here about the transports.
Okay.
Thank you.
Any questions of the
I
applicant?
have none, Mr. Chairman. No.
Nope. All right, thank you. Is there anyone in the audience that would wish to speak in favor of the petition? Please come up and introduce yourself.
Hi, my name is Candy Bosch. I live on Stonegate, right directly below it. That you can see there below the green belt. The administration building, is that a 2-story or one?
It's one story now. It was originally 2-story.
Okay, so you're proposing to stay 1-story now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And in front of that,
Please address the board, please, thank you.
in front of that is a car wash?
The little piece of that brown building, yes.
Okay. So, yeah, that there. So we're not doing a body shop
Correct.
anymore. We're taking that out. That's going to be a 1-story and then a car wash in front of it. My only concern is, my question would be, the car wash is really loud. I mean, they haven't put theirs in yet, obviously, but Quick Start across 53rd, beyond all this property from us can be heard going all day when the car wash is going. So that's my only concern. Otherwise, I have no other questions regarding this plan. In fact, I like this plan better than the other one.
Understood. I think the reason for the car wash being on the north side of the building is to use the building as to dampen the noise from it, so, yeah.
And having read the rezoning conditions recently, there was a section in there that the car wash can't be run when the business isn't open.
Right. Okay. Thank you. Is there anyone else that wishes to speak in favor of the petition? Is there anyone who'd like to speak opposed to the petition? All right, see none. Board members, discussion?
You know, it seems the discussion previously was, we spent quite a bit of time talking about the green barrier. And I'm not seeing any of that condition there in the recommendation with conditions. Does that addressed anywhere at all, or was, you know, in terms of what?
Yeah, the green barrier is required by the rezoning, so, but you can add it in here if you would like.
But we didn't.
I didn't take
Left
out,
that go.
I didn't take out a green barrier condition from the other staff report, no.
Right, okay.
Right. So that's already required by ordinance. We don't have to stipulate that.
Yeah, that was it.
Okay. I think the changes, I think they heard what was discussed last
Yeah.
time. So from a visual standpoint, lower the height of the administration building, remove the body shop, and in some regards to make room for the vehicle deliveries to be in the lot. So I view these as all positive changes.
Yeah, I agree.
Any other discussion, thoughts? All right, if there's no other discussion, I would accept a motion to approve SU 24-04 as proposed.
I'll make that motion to approve request SU 24-04 as proposed.
I'll second.
Roll call, please.
Staff would like to make one small comment.
Sure.
In the first few hours I published this, I said that they emailed me a document July 7th. I have since changed that to July 3rd. So the submitted site plan they sent to the city actually occurred on July 3rd, not July 7th. But what is online right now and what I printed for the board is correct, so.
Okay. That's-
So roll call,
Appreciate it.
I will. Galliard,
Yes.
Boyd Carlson,
Yes.
Blumker,
Yes.
and Darlin.
Yes. All right, so that's passed. Thank you. There is no other business, so I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Second?
We stand adjourned. Thank you.